The Wednesday Warmup. Good evening and welcome back to the Wednesday Warmup. I'm your host, Danielle Dubois, alongside my co-host, Millan Jane. Now we are going into week 10, so we are going to give our week 10 predictions as well as recap week 9. We're going to start off with recapping the Bills-Seahawks game. Millan, what do you think?
I think if you're the fan of two teams, you both took something out of it. I think if you're a fan of the Seattle Seahawks, you're in trouble a little bit because, yes, you are one of the best teams in the NFC, but you just got exposed in your defense. Coming into this season, we knew that this offense would be pretty good. We didn't expect them to be that good as what Russell Wilson, as an MVP candidate, but we also didn't expect to see their defense be as bad as, as it's supposed to be. They were ranked one of the lowest in rush defense, one of the lowest in pass defense, and you saw when they play a good team and they got exposed. So they're going to have some major holes be fixed in this defense if they want to make it far, because they're going to be competing against a really good Green Bay Packers team, a really good New Orleans Saints, and a really good Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. So you're going to have to fix your defense if you want to make it far. On the flip side of the Bills, Josh Allen's finally back. He was slow after this couple losses, but now he's looking like that he could lead the team to be the top team in the AFC.
I would agree with that, and their defense definitely does need work on the Seahawks. I didn't expect it to be that bad. We knew it wasn't the best, and I was like, okay, but going into against the Bills, I feel like they could do it. I was like, the Bills, they have a great offense, but I feel like they'd be able to get some stops off, and I was wrong, and I was brutally disappointed. I was really shocked. Moving into week 10, we're going to start off with our Thursday game. Our Thursday game is the 5-3 Colts take on the 6-2 Titans. Now, I'm going to have to say the Titans on this one, both teams have looked surprisingly well this year, which is really shocking. But the Titans have Derrick Henry, and the Colts, as they have a great defense, as we've seen this year, I don't think they'll be able to stop Derrick Henry.
Yeah, I agree with you on this one. And to all the points you just said, I think Ryan Tannehill is one of the top 10 QBs in the NFL this year. And the Colts, like you said, have a great defense, have a great rush defense. But we've been saying for the past couple of weeks, Derrick Henry is a different breed. But saying that they can stop Derrick Henry and that small chance they can stop, we can see Ryan Tannehill throw the ball. He's been able to throw the ball at A.J. Brown. They got different wide receivers, different weapons that he's finally being able to use. And so I think with the combination of that and Derrick Henry, it's going to be overpowering.
And at the beginning of the season, I didn't think Ryan Tannehill was able to throw the ball because we've never been able to see him actually be consistent with his passing. But this year he's gotten a lot better and improved. So I think that's a really great sign for their offense. Moving into the Sunday games, we start off with the 3-4-1 Eagles taking on the 2-7 Giants. This is an interesting matchup because neither teams are specifically good. I think they're just around each other's range. But I'm honestly going to have to say the Giants on this one. The Giants have not looked awful. No, they've looked awful, but I feel like they can easily beat the Eagles because the Eagles don't have much going for them. I don't think they can hold out. Their offense has not been good this year, and they have not been able to sustain a good lead for a while.
Yeah, and like you said, any team, division team, any NFC East game where two NFC East teams are playing each other, I think you have to say it's a toss-up because any team can beat anyone at any given time because they're all so terrible. That being said, I like Philadelphia is a little bit better. I think I trust Carson Wentz more than I trust Daniel Jones. They got to, and so I think with the wide receiver core, they're just finally starting to get the groove of things. I'm giving it. They came back against Baltimore. They played well against Baltimore. They came well against Pittsburgh. So they've been able to play well against some really good teams. Obviously, they lost both of those games, but I'm gonna take the Philadelphia Eagles on this one.
The next game is the 1-7 Jaguars take on the 6-2 Packers. I'm going to have to say the Packers on this one. They have Aaron Rodgers. They have Devontae Adams. What else more do you need to say? You need really two key offensive players that can really boost your offense. Their defense has looked pretty good this year. I was actually kind of shocked. I didn't think it was going to be as good as it was, but they've been doing really great lately. And the Jaguars don't have much going for them offensively, so I think it will be easy to stop them.
Yeah, like you said, Gardner Minshew is not going to be playing this game, so that's one thing. Number two, they are playing the Jags, who are like 1-7, like you said. They also, so like you said, they had Devontae Adams. Let's forget, before they had Devontae Adams when he was out with an injury, they still did very well with the number one receiver being Allen Lazard. He went down with the injury, but he's coming back. So now you have Devontae Adams and Allen Lazard, and we've seen what Devontae Adams could do last week, scoring like 3 touchdowns or whatever. So I think this is going to be a clear, blatant win with the Packers.
The next game is the 2-6 football team take on the 3-5 Lions. I'm going to be honest. This is an awful, like two awful teams. They both don't look the best, but they're equal. I'd say it's a pretty equal matchup. So I'd say it's actually going to be a pretty entertaining game. I feel like it's going to be closer than a lot of people think. I'm going to have to favor the Lions in this one just because Matt Stafford is better than the football team's quarterback. I don't even know who the football team's quarterback is. The football team doesn't have much going for them offensively or defensively, and I think the Lions have a better defense overall as well.
Yeah, the football team was supposed to have a pretty good defense, but we haven't seen that at all. We haven't been able to see them make good stops. Alex Smith is going to be the quarterback. I think they're going to name Alex Smith the quarterback for the football team after Kyle Allen went down with I think it was like dislocated ankle or something. That being said, I have to agree with you. I'm going to go with the Lions in this one. I trust Matthew Stafford to be able to make the plays against the struggling Washington football team.
The next game is the 2-6 Texans take on the 5-3 Browns. I'm going to have to say the Browns in this one. Even though they're kind of floating on a lot of injuries lately, especially offensively, especially with Nick Chubb being out for a while, but the Browns are overall a way better team. They can show up on offense, which the Texans cannot do. They have not proven to do that at all this year. And I feel like the Browns are going to pretty much demolish the Texans. The Texans don't have much going for them. Even though they have Deshaun Watson, he's not able to lead the team to greatness like they need to be.
Yeah, I'm debating back and forth between these two teams. I think this is going to be a much more interesting game than it's supposed to be because we've seen Baker Mayfield also haven't been playing well against top tier quarterbacks. But then again, like you said, Texans don't have much going for them because that's Deshaun Watson and all that. And you also get the defense. I'm gonna go with the Browns on this one. I think the biggest thing is I think the Browns defense is better than the Houston defense, and I think the Browns as flaky as Baker Mayfield may be, I think they'll be able to get it done against the Texans.
The next game is the 6-3 Buccaneers take on the 3-6 Panthers. Now Brady had an awful game last week. I think I favored the Buccaneers, didn't I?
Yeah, we both favored.
We both favored the Buccaneers just because of how amazing Tom Brady was, and we knew he wanted revenge because the Saints beat them week 1. We thought he was going to go out there with a lot of passion and a lot of drive. He was just going to kick Drew Brees' butt out there, and he did the opposite. He did not show up at all. Now, saying that, Tom Brady doesn't go 2 weeks in a row without having a bad game. I feel like he makes the mistakes. He knows when he wasn't good, and he knows what he needs to improve on. And I feel like he is going to be working really hard with his offense and the Buccaneers defense this week to prepare for this game. And I'm going to give the Bucs this one.
Yeah, I'm going to give the Bucs this one as well. It's like you said, Tom Brady's not going to let himself lose 2 games, especially to the Panthers. And it's a really picky poison on offense. Now you got AB. And I think, this is a good team for them to rebound on. I think they're struggling on defensive. The Panthers are struggling defensive-wise. And so I think this would be a good team for Tom Brady to pick apart and get his confidence back.
The first 4:00 game is the 2-6 Chargers take on the 5-3 Dolphins. Now, the Dolphins had done really great lately. They really put up a fight against the Cardinals last week, which happened to be a very entertaining game. We've seen Tua do really great for his first season. I didn't expect that at all, but he's been doing really well, and he's definitely going to be a really great quarterback in the future. He's already good, so I imagine he's going to be dirty in 2 or 3 years after he gets used to the NFL experience. Now, that being said, he's going against the Chargers, the Justin Herbert Chargers. He has done really great this year, but they haven't been able to prove that they can win, even though they've been close games, but they haven't proven that they can win and hold it out. The Dolphins, I'd say, are going to win this one.
Yeah, I don't know what's been going on with the Dolphins. You got Tua. I'm not even going to pronounce his last name because I can't do it.
Tagovailoa.
That was good. But whenever Tua came into the league, turn this Dolphins team around. And it's not even just on the offensive side of the ball. The defense is starting playing better. They're beating some good teams. But Justin Herbert's been very good. He was my pick to be the Rookie of the Year. And Tua has to be in the conversation of being Rookie of the Year. I'm still going to give it to Justin Herbert, but like you said, the Chargers can't play a full 60 minutes, and against a really good a better Dolphins team that could be a playoff team, I'm gonna give it to them.
The next game is the 3-5 Broncos take on the 5-3 Raiders. I'm gonna have to give this one to the Raiders. The Broncos haven't done the best this year. They've been struggling a lot offensively. Their defense hasn't been the worst. It hasn't been good either, but it could be a lot worse. I think that the Seahawks defense last week was a lot worse than the Broncos defense was. That being said, the Raiders are an overall better team. They have a really good offense and they have a pretty decent defense. So I'd say it's being a better overall team, they have a better chance at winning than the Broncos do.
Yeah, like you said, the Raiders don't. The Raiders have something going for them. They got Garrett Carr back, who's been playing a lot better than he has been, and he could potentially lead this team to the playoffs. I think they will be a playoff team. And on the flip side, Drew Lock has not been consistently good for the Buccaneers, and for the Broncos. And you need a consistently good quarterback to at least win some games and play a full 60 minutes, because that's going to be the killer. Teams that can't play full 60 minutes cannot win football games. We've seen that in the Chargers. We've seen that in the Broncos. And so I'm going to give this one to the Raiders. I think they got a complete team, and I think they'll be able to steamroll them.
The next game is the 7-2 Bills take on the 5-3 Cardinals. This, I'd say, is probably going to be the most entertaining game of the week just because of the quarterback matchup. You're doing Josh Allen against Kyler Murray. Both have shown up a lot this year. Both of them have been decent in the past, but you're like, oh, like I want to consider them top 10. They're kind of floating on that line of being like good and decent. But they've been really great this year. They've been able to actually lead their teams to some solid wins. That being said, it's going to be a really good matchup of which defense is better. I honestly think it's going to come down to who can stop the other quarterback more. I think I'm going to go with Josh Allen and the Bills on this one.
Yeah, I'm going to go Josh Allen on the Bills. I gave this opinion earlier this week, and I still stand by it, and everyone's going to hate me because I'm going to be so hypocritical. But I think one of the number one teams in the AFC that can beat the Chiefs is going to be the Bills. They lost to the Bills earlier this year. They lost to the Chiefs earlier this year. But I think as we saw last week, Josh Allen has a very explosive offense, and you need to have an explosive offense against a Kansas Patrick Mahomes type team. Now they're not playing Patrick Mahomes, but they are playing a very good Kyler Murray team who can be pretty explosive at times. So I think this will be a good test for Buffalo to maybe start before a rematch against the Chiefs. So I'm going to give this one to Buffalo. We saw they can play offensively, defensively. Josh Allen looks like his MVP self, and I think the Bills will win this one.
The next game is the 4-5 49ers take on the 6-2 Saints. A pretty good matchup, but the 49ers are struggling offensively, especially after they're still getting used to Jimmy Garoppolo being out, and they've had him kind of come in and out throughout the season due to injuries. But the Saints have Drew Brees, Kamara, Mike Thomas. They're all amazing offensive weapons, and they have the better defense too. The 49ers defense is pretty inconsistent, I would say. So I think the Saints have a better chance at winning this game.
Yeah, the Saints came off of a huge win that everyone thought they were going to get obliterated because, so much talk between the Buccaneers offense, and they stifled them, like literally stifled them. And, with the loss of Kittle, with the loss of Mostert, with the loss of Garoppolo, that's going to hurt against a very good Drew Brees offense who was trying to find themselves in the beginning of the season, and they dropped 33 points on a very good Tampa Bay team that I thought would win the NFC. So I think the Saints are going to ride high and go in and win this game very easily.
The next game is the 6-2 Seahawks take on the 5-3 Rams. Didn't know the Rams were 5-3 until now, so that was kind of shocking for me. The Seahawks are trying to rebuild their defense after what happened last week. Obviously, that was a huge embarrassment because we all expected them to come out and pretty much crush Josh Allen. Not to say that. I mean, it was going to be a close game, but we were like, I don't know, like Russell Wilson has his team under control. He's got it. But we were all pretty shocked at that outcome. Their defense was completely awful. I'd say that was the worst defense in the league last week alone. But I think they're going to do some really good defensive practice in this next week preparing against the Rams because they know that the Rams have been able to win games, and that's not very common for them. I know they went to the Super Bowl a few years back against the Patriots, but they kind of went on a downhill spiral after that, and they haven't been able to win as many games as they have been in this season. So I think if the Seahawks defense actually prepares well enough and is strong enough, I feel like they'll be able to beat the Rams.
I agree with you. I think Pete Carroll is a very good coach and one of the best coaches in the NFL. And I think he knows that this defense is going to be their Achilles heel. I think that's going to be the primary focus of work. I think Russell Wilson didn't have that horrible game, not that bad of a game. It's just the defense that really screwed them over on that. And I think you're playing a team that has a very good defense and a very, very good offense. So it's going to be a good test for Seattle to say, hey, where are we in this division? Can we actually win this division? They're the front runners, but let's not forget, they're right behind Arizona and even the Rams are right behind them. So I don't think Seattle wants that pressure, and they want to distinguish themselves to be the front runner in the NFC West.
The next game is the 2-5-1 Bengals take on the 8-0 Steelers. The Steelers are coming off of a pretty ugly win. It was a really close game. It wasn't the best game, especially considering it was against the Cowboys, who are on their fourth string quarterback. You think you'd be able to stop that a little bit better, but the Steelers really just didn't show up. And I know that they had Big Ben go out of the game and then come back in, so it was kind of rough with him. And so offensively, they weren't the best either. That being said, I think they want to come out and they want to prove that they're not an embarrassment. They're like, yeah, I know we're 8-0, but like that game was a little bit embarrassing. Like that was way too close for comfort for their sake. So I feel like they're going to try really hard to come back this week and crush the Bengals. That being said, the Bengals offensively have Joe Burrows, who is still a new NFL quarterback, so he's still getting used to the entire situation. So I think the Steelers defense will be able to take that on offense.
It'll be interesting this game. I think last weekend. I was doing a lot of research, or not research, just doing a lot of reflecting on last week's game. We only let up one touchdown. That's the first thing. We only let up one touchdown. But we looked terrible on the we did look terrible. We're letting a lot of third downs. A lot of terrible play calling. We got to fix it. And this is a small thing. I think Ben played amazing. If I'm going to be in the second half mostly, he had 3 touchdown passes. He went down with that injury. If anyone knew, or then he continued. He picked up himself up, continued that drive, went 4 for 4 and a touchdown. And you could look at this game one of two ways. You could have looked at that game and said, hey, you should have blown that team out. What are you doing? Or you could look at that game and say, hey, I can trust Ben when we're down. Like I trust Ben that we could win ugly. And it's picking poison, but ultimately you should have won that game by a lot. This is tomorrow. Next weekend is going to be a big weekend to see if you can do that too. Last week you're playing Dallas. This week you're playing the Bengals. The week after that you're playing the Jaguars. 3 teams that you should be easily blowing out. And I think if you're Pittsburgh, that's the one thing you're missing is blowing the bad teams out. And if you can do that, that's when I say, okay, maybe this is a real Super Bowl contending team. Be able to have the ability to blow this team out. Now, like the news broke out yesterday, Ben is on the COVID reserve list. He doesn't have COVID, but he has to sit out till Saturday unless he has 2 negative tests. So he was only going to have 1 day to practice and walk through. That being said, he is a veteran, so I trust him a lot to be going off of 1 day of practice. And he's still going through like virtual, meetings and stuff like that. But 1 day of actual physical to practice. It'll be interesting to see how it is. And so this is going to be a weird game. If Ben can't play, because it doesn't mean it's necessarily he's going to play. If Ben can't play and Mason Rudolph has to start, I'm giving this one to the Bengals. I think Joe Burrows has done a lot better. We've seen him get better. Obviously they're 2-5, but we can see him do a lot. He's been doing a lot better as the season's gone on, and he's going to be a lot better than Mason Rudolph. If Ben's back in, I think this is going to be a game that the Steelers should win. And I think hopefully it'll be another obliteration game for the Steelers, and they should win easily.
We'll see. I think it's going to be closer than we both think, just because of Joe Burrows, and especially with the kind of uncertainty until the very last minute of the week.
Who's going to
knowing if Big Ben or anything, I feel like it's going to cause a lot of anxiety in Steelers players, but we'll see. I mean, never count the Steelers out, I'd say.
Yeah.
The Sunday night game is the 6-2 Ravens take on the 3-5 Patriots. Now, the Patriots last week got their 3rd win. Yay, finally. This is really sad. And it was a close game. It was an awful game. As much as that was probably the most entertaining game last week, because all of them were pretty bad last week, not gonna lie. It was the closest game, I'd say, because it came down to the very last second to see if Nick Folk could make the field goal or not, and he did. So thank you for him, because that was the main reason why we won that game. Cam showed up that he showed that he can make grid passes and he can score touchdowns when he needs them. We just need it more consistently. That being said, I think the Ravens are going to demolish the Patriots. The Patriots do not have that defense that they've always had. They've always had a pretty great defense, but with so many people being out because of the COVID opt-out and injuries on their defense, they really don't have a lot of good people on their defense being able to stop good offenses. And especially with Lamar Jackson, he is a great quarterback. He hasn't been the best this season. We've seen him be better for sure, but I feel like Lamar Jackson's just going to run all over these Patriots.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Once that the New England Patriots aren't the strongest team in the world, and by all means, they struggled against the Jets. Yes, they got the win, but they struggled. But then you also got Lamar Jackson, who's Lamar Jackson, but he hasn't been playing like an MVP Lamar Jackson of what we've seen him play last year. He's struggling throwing the ball. When he gets stopped, when you force him to throw the ball, he can't do it. When he gets down, he can't come back. And so I think if New England can get up on them somehow, I think it's going to be put really a lot of pressure on Lamar Jackson. It'll be interesting. That being said, I think Lamar Jackson's going to do well. I think he's going to make the needed plays to win this game. Not going to be great by any chance, but I think New England still has a good pass rush. But I think that New England's offense is just good. It's just going to struggle against a very, very elite defense in the Baltimore Ravens.
The Monday night game this week is the 3-5 Vikings take on the 5-4 Bears. Now, I'm going to give this one to the Bears. I know that's probably like a little iffy, but the Vikings haven't really shown up this year. And sure, they have 3 wins and they're the exact same record as the Patriots. Both teams being said are pretty inconsistent. I'd say the Vikings have not been able to show that they can win consecutively, and they haven't shown that drive that they want to win. Kirk Cousins is not a good leader for this team at all. He hasn't been doing the right steps in order to bring a winning team. He wants to be on a winning team, but he hasn't brought any of that effort at all. And you can see that in all of their play calls. They don't look like they really care if they win or lose. They just look like they're playing football because that's what their job is, which is a really bad mindset to go into. The Bears also just recently picked up a new quarterback, Kyle Sloter, and that will be he will be the second string quarterback. That's what I've heard. So that's giving them good options there in case one of their quarterback goes down. And the Bears have more offensive weapons than the Vikings, I would say.
I'm trying to debate on this game. I'm going to go with the upset on this one. I think Minnesota somehow is going to find this win. Now, let's not forget, Minnesota also does have Dalvin Cook on this team, who's absolutely a monster, who passed Derrick Henry for the most rushing yards this year last week. And, the Bears have one of the better defenses in the NFL, but I think Dalvin Cook is going to find ways to just spring their offense together. And then when they're ready to stack the box, Kirk Cousins is going to hit someone with a play action pass. So I don't know. I got some good vibes with the Vikings on this one. They're probably going to lose terribly, but I have some good vibes because we all know that if anyone who knows football, everyone knows that Kirk Cousins can't play in primetime Monday night games, any nighttime games. So it's probably not going to do well, but I think Dalvin Cook is going to do well and it'll get this win for the Vikings.
We'll see. I really think that they're going to rely off Dalvin Cook. So I think if anything ever happens to them, they're completely screwed because they aren't that good even with him. So, Millan, what do you think is your lock this week?
You look. There's a lot of different teams for the lock of the week. You got the Jags, Packers. You got Steelers, Bengals. I'm gonna go with the Saints and the Niners. Give us one of the Saints for all the reasons that we said. The Niners are hurting very badly, and I think the Saints are coming up with a great win. So I'm gonna give some of the Saints.
My lock of the week. I know this is probably really basic, and I feel like some people will get mad at me for this, but I'm gonna go with the Packers over the Jaguars. Just because I need a good lock, because last week my lock did not go well at all, considering I said the Seahawks. So we're going to move on from that, and we're going to hopefully get the dub on this one. If not, then I quit. I quit. Thank you guys so much for joining us on week 10 of the Wednesday warm-up. Join us next week as we go into week 11.